Today I'm in Bethesda, Maryland, and I think I figured something out for people. If you have condensation problems, ducts sweating in your basement, in your utility room, around the main air handler, and you have ductwork that runs through your attic. So that means that you have one system, the machine starts in the basement, it runs up through the house and gets all the floors cooled and then runs to the attic, and the ducts go through the attic and then hit all the rooms. You got something called a chase. And what I think is happening is that it's open in the attic and the warm, humid air is dropping into that hole and going down to those cold surfaces down in your basement, and it's creating condensation. The dew point is getting reached and condensation is occurring. And it's a real simple fix. So I'm going to try to show you what it looks like to fix something like this so you can do it yourself.
All right, well, I'm going to actually take you through this, pretty much a good part of this process today. I have a piece of foam board and some less rigid insulation material and a spray foam gun with a can of spray foam. And my goal is to disconnect this opening in the attic from the house so that that hot, humid air, this has been their problem in the summer, can't dive down into that hole and interact with the cold ducts. And I think this is a problem for a lot of people. So this is the problem area right here. And one of the telltale signs that air is moving through there a lot is all of that dark, discolored insulation that the HVAC crew the day before, they were trying to problem solve. They moved all that for me, so I was thankful for that. But the big thing that I saw as a challenge once I got back up in this attic, because I'd been there once before, is there's that plumbing pipe that you might have seen just a moment, you'll see in a second, that is right there smack dab in my way. And there's a lot of old, dirty insulation in the areas that I'm going to need to seal, so it makes it really difficult to see what's going on. But my goal is to try to move as much of that as possible, well, all of it really, so that I can get to the right spots. Now, one of the things I had to pretty much, come to the conclusion on this one is that there probably was going to be a few spots that I couldn't reach. But my mice droppings near ductwork, that is something that I have other videos on. I see that all the time, and I just wanted to quickly catch that. But what I was saying is, I figured that if I can get the majority of the humid air from getting into that space, that would be probably enough to solve the problem. Because, air is kind of funny. Now, I don't proclaim to be an aerodynamic scientist or whatever you would call that. But what I can, imagine in my mind is that when you stop the majority of that humidity from getting in and maybe lessen it by a great degree, then the condensation will be also reduced, a lot, if not totally, and the problem should go away. And that's kind of what we want here. It's just that, if there is maybe a little condensation at the very top of this plenum in this chase and it evaporates because it's just such a insignificant amount, then in my mind, that's the problem is solved. So right now, clearly there is a wide open area. So we, can only make it better. That's kind of my motto. So here you can see that is just a really good look. And, one of the challenges of trying to videotape this stuff and do it at the same time is, well, just that exactly. It's like trying to do both and get good angles that are going to show, things that people want to see and then they're going to be helpful, but also like not break my kneecap or mess this up or, fall into the drywall. So I got a little help there. My camera looked like it backed out a little. And what I'm doing now is just getting all this dirty insulation that's been there for years, getting it out of my way, because these are all penetration, all things, holes, gaps, that I want to seal. And the only way that I like to try to do that, the best that I can, is just get stuff out of the way. It's a little bit more difficult to do it with a bunch of loose fill insulation, it's a lot of dust and dirt. It can be done, and one of my coworkers, he can do it that way. He's really good at it. He gets really good results. Personally, especially when I do these isolated type things, I like to really just make sure I can see as much as possible. So here I'm just investigating. I'm trying to get a feel for, okay, how can I, put this on the best way? And, the good news is you don't ever have to do anything here perfect. You just have to use your brain, and you have to make sure that the material covers the area, and then the foam that you use fills in the gaps. That's the key. Use the material, the rigid foam, the rigid material to cover the area. Make sure that it is a complete air barrier so air can't pass through, and then use the foam to fill in the gaps. That's the key. So here, doing a little thinking, trying to figure out, okay, how can I get my camera set up and also try to show you what I'm doing. And I don't know if I was successful, because quite honestly, I'm watching this and sort of commenting all at the same time. All right, so I got my foam board cut, and I made a few mistakes. So, I was starting to get a little bit fatigued up here, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I was trying to get this camera set up right, and it was getting hot, and I wasn't using my tape measure. I was trying to wing it. So yeah, take your time, take your measurements. Don't make the same mistake I made. Be prepared. Go up there with a plan. But the good thing is that most, kindergarten students could probably do a good job with something like this. So it doesn't take too much to readjust, get yourself back on track, as you can see I was able to do here. New angle, long foam gun, wrapping up. You can see the foam, use it, to your advantage. Fill in some of those gaps. Make sure that it covers everything. It does not have to look pretty. It just has to be effective. And that is what I tell people all the time. And that's one of the best things about my job. And that's why doing this type of work in the attic is really a do-it-yourselfer thing, if you don't mind getting in the attic, because you don't really have to be skilled, if like a drywall person or somebody who does caulking on the outside, because you want it to look nice. Aesthetics are important, as well as the fundamentals. Here, it's just all about fundamentals. It's all about just making sure that everything is properly sealed. And for good measure here, I'm just going to show you what it looks like to air seal around a plumbing penetration. And that is all part of that chase. I think it's separate by the wall there, but by some kind of a drywall wall, but a partition. But you could see there is a pretty large gap there, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to just seal it off for these folks, even though they only asked me to take care of the chase problem for that particular day. But I wanted to just get a really nice video of that and show you what this looks like. And a little bit of top plate air sealing here towards the end. Getting a little fatigued, getting a little hot and bothered at this point. But I'm still trying to make sure I get all of the little tiny pieces of insulation out of the way. Do a real good job for these folks. And you can see what air sealing is all about. It's just attention to detail, getting down dirty, making sure you know what spots to hit, being targeted about what you do, and being methodical, having a plan, having the right materials, having the right tools, the mindset. But anybody can do this. And again, I think this is a big problem that's happening. A lot of houses, older houses, that have these open chase, and you can just see how it's all kind of sealed up and cleaned up and cured. The foam is cured. That was after. Thanks for watching.